So starting off standing next to a counter or tabletop, this is a great position to begin with some forward reaching but with your hands supported and working on activating different aspects of your shoulder. So starting here, she's going to let that pillowcase or towel slowly slide forward without any pressure on it. And she's going to stop short of any pain on the top of the shoulder. And as soon as she gets as far as she can comfortably from here, she's going to lightly press down into the heel of her hand as she pulls that towel or pillowcase back towards her side. Good. Nice and slow, just going to where her elbow is even with her trunk, not going back beyond. And then same thing, no pressure coming out, very light and controlled, stopping short of any pain on the top of the shoulder. And then lightly pressing down into the heel of her hand so she feels a little pressure into her armpit and into the back of her lower aspect of her armpit and shoulder. Once more, nice and relaxed, going out, stopping short of pain, slowly pressing down as she pulls back. A really good initial movement to begin with forward reaching, but with the hands supported and focusing more on activating the muscles in the back of the arm to decrease pain on the top of the shoulder. So that would be your first phase, doing 10 to 20 times. Now to make that a little more challenging, we can have Darby go a little further. So looking at her from the side, she would slide out just as she did, but now she's going to start to bend over at her trunk, letting her arm go further into that overhead flexion. We can even have her in a staggered stance, so that would be a little bit more comfortable. And then same idea, light pressure into the heel of the hand as she pulls back towards her side, letting her elbow bend. Let's have you show that, Darby, just facing the opposite direction, so we'll have you switch arms. So watching her from the back doing that same movement, she's going to let that arm slide out in front, and then if she gets to the point, she's going to bend forward, and then from that point, she's going to press down into the heel of her hand, squeezing into her armpit as she pulls that arm back to her side. And one time showing them the way not to do it, Darby, is if you can let your shoulder blades start to hunch over top. So right there, that's typically what causes a lot of our shoulder problems to begin with. So the whole time as she goes forward, she's trying to keep that shoulder down. Very good. And that would be another 10 to 20 times, staying short of pain. Now the third step in this process, if those things aren't bothering you, would be to get something that slides. This ball works really well, especially if you're doing this in the gym. She's going to start with her hands close to her body, and she's going to slowly let that ball roll away from her as she leans forward. And same idea, she's going to press down into that ball and pull her shoulder blades down as she pulls it back into her. This also is a movement that encourages her to engage her stomach as she pulls back. So nice and relaxed going forward, and then pressure down into that ball as she pulls back. Now to make this even more of a challenge, she would start with that ball further away so that she rolls out, and actually let your hips follow the ball, Darby. So instead of there you go. And then she engages her stomach and pulls back in. So like you saw there, that's another way to make it easier. If she would sit her hips back towards her heels, go ahead and do that again. That's going to be a little less of a challenge on your stomach, but also still a good movement for the shoulder. And then from there, to make it more of a challenge on the stomach, she would let her hips follow her hands as she reaches out and presses down as she pulls back in. 10 to 20 times, same thing, making sure you have no shoulder pain and that you feel like you're very much depressing that shoulder and shoulder blade as you pull back, and also keeping tension into the stomach, ensuring that your back doesn't drop into an opposite arch.